Holy shit, the month of September is upon us, which can only mean one thing: Canelo Golovkin 3. Now, this fight is 4 years past when we wanted it, and some people are saying it's past its expiry date, and maybe it is a little bit. But honestly, I don't know why people aren't hyped for this fight, or, like people are complaining about it, or don't even want to see it. Like, man, I will always want to see these two fight. I don't care if it's in the fucking retirement village, I'm coming out. Because they're a great stylistic matchup, and they're each other's kind of foil, Batman and Joker sort of thing. Like they clearly don't like each other, and they're clearly just neck and neck on any given day. Each one can beat the other. Now the big question mark is, well, Golovkin is 40 years old and he's moving up to super middleweight. These two are two of the greatest middleweights of all time. But now we're in the super middleweight division. We know Canelo Alvarez is established there as the undisputed king. Golovkin, we don't know what he's going to look like at that weight. It's an unknown factor. He could be stronger, could be less weight drained, but he could also be maybe less cardio and output. Who knows? So we'll just have to see, as well as the age factor. He looked worse in some of his fights, like the Derevianchenko fight compared to the Murata fight, and that's also down to the fighters. But I think the problem is Golovkin's attributes that were going to give Canelo the most trouble were his output, his pressure, his volume, his presence, his footwork as well. And now he has less of those attributes. He's going to be less fit. He's going to be a bit softer, particularly to the body. And his footwork to me in the Murata fight looked like it was a little bit disconnected from his hands. There was a bit of a clunky kind of thing, especially in the first couple of rounds, where he took a little bit more to get going, and he needs every round against Canelo. He can't take the first 3 or 4 rounds off and then pile it on later. So those things I think are going to give Canelo a bit of an edge, but Golovkin can always cause problems for anybody. He can hurt anybody, and he's not an easy fight for anybody, even at age 40. So don't write him off just yet. I see a lot of people saying he's going to get knocked out. Look, it's possible, for sure. I'm not going to dismiss that, and the fact that he has looked weaker to the body in recent years. Sure, you could say that. You could make an argument, but the dude's had almost 400 fucking fights by now, and he's never been knocked down or out. He's been in trouble, but he's always survived. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And also, he's my boy. Look, so I'm not going to lie. I would be devastated if, he finally got put away after being too long in the tooth and being 40 years old. That would be really tragic. I don't want him to go out like Shane Mosley, where he pulled his back and shit against Mundine. That was embarrassing. So I'm going to give Golovkin the benefit of the doubt, because he's never been knocked out. He's never let us down before. And to be honest, in the first 2 fights, both of them had each other hurt, and both of them definitely bothered each other, but neither were close to being stopped. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be different this time. But we can't rule out the possibility of a stoppage. It definitely could happen if Canelo brings his A game and he hits him in the right spots at the right time. And the thing is, look, with Golovkin as well, he's going to be in range a lot more because his feet, his legs look like older legs. They don't have quite the same kind of springiness and balance and stability that he once had, in his younger years, early 30s, and his prime, like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, right? So in a way, that's going to make for a great fight, because he's probably not going to take the approach of the second fight and sort of box on the back foot and use angles and stuff in the same way, even though it's Jonathan Banks sort of, trying to get him to sort of be a boxer puncher more and go back to maybe some of his amateur and Olympic roots. But I think he's going to be standing there a lot more, which means he's going to be in range a lot more to get hit, but he's also going to be in range a lot more to hit Canelo. And we'll see whether his age catches up with him in that respect, because towards the middle and the end of the Murata fight, he really poured it on, and he he proved he can still win a war of attrition in that respect. Now, Murata's not Canelo. Very true. The other factor is Canelo's defense. I don't know if Golovkin has fully figured out a way around that, because sometimes Canelo was just making him work, but it wasn't super effective. And Golovkin can't afford to waste too many punches at this age. But people equating the Bivol and Canelo's fight to Golovkin and Canelo, I don't think it's the same thing. I think the attributes they're not equatable, because Bivol is much more of a boxer puncher, using a lot more movement than Golovkin, and combinations in and out sort of stuff to overwhelm Canelo and rack up the points, whereas Golovkin's style is generally more stalk you and use his physical presence and aura to drain you. So I think if Golovkin's not careful, that could put him in line for some vicious body shots and probably more of the highlight sort of counters like we saw in the second fight that Canelo employed. And I think that's what's going to win Canelo the decision. He's probably going to land the more damaging, eye-catching shots, and Golovkin will try for more consistency. But at this stage, I hate to say it, he might not be able to put it together enough to win the decision. But he's going to be pissed because of what's happened in the last two fights. So that'll be interesting. That might change his approach entirely. He might just do the do or die, and I think that's why it's going to result in such a great fight. Canelo's pissed coming off the loss with Bivol. He's trying to prove something. So he's going to have that fire, I think, and that motivation to get back. And against his rival, I think it's going to be a really, really, really good fight. But let me know what you think and how you see it going. I think, honestly, it's going to be closer than people realize, because everyone's just going Canelo. But Golovkin can make it really difficult. He can make it difficult for anybody, and he's always a tough stylistic matchup for Canelo, and vice versa. So they're both each other's foils. So let's see who wins, Batman or the Joker, huh? All right, let me know.